I just want to say what I was thinking is maybe we can talk about like Mexika culture and maybe something around the story of like Tonantzin, since it's the 7th of December.
Yeah, big celebration in Mexico.
Yeah, maybe like the real story. You know what I mean? That story that's not like Guadalupe, but the Tonantzin story.
Oh, yeah. I can give you the story that's come down to us the way we understand it.
Yeah.
This a long time ago when I was a kid, because Tonantzin means, when you break down the word, it's a compound word. It's a Nahuatl word, which is the original language of Central Mexico, and a lot of other people used it too, all the way up north to all the way down south. So it just basically means our sacred Mother Earth. Tona comes from tonali, which is light. Zine at the end, tonantzin, is sacred. And nana, comes from nana or tata. Nana is mother, and tatatzin, tata is father. A lot of cultures actually have it like that. It's just the way the child starts saying nana, or tata. It's a natural. So way it flows with human beings when they call out to their mother or their father from the get-go in different cultures. They just used it the way it sounded, phonetically coming from the children, nana and tata. So Tonantzin means sacred Mother Earth. And but she had many names, just like for the creator, we have a lot of names, in Palemoni, Tlokenawake, Moyokoyani, Toyokoyani. So one word for Tonantzin was, another name for her was Tlecuatlashupe. Different variations depending on what region you're in. But it basically means the eagle of fire who brings the light. And now that they celebrate it, now that they celebrate Tonantzin, they also call her Guadalupe. Yeah. And the way we understand it, there's other stories, but the way we understand it is that the Spanish, when they came, when they come over, they incorporate like they did in Europe, like the pagan religions and stuff like that. And they make them their own and they change it up a little bit. Same thing because they saw how connected we were to Tonantzin and Cuautlicue, and we have many names for the earth. And one of them was the eagle of fire that brings the light, like Tlecuatlashupe. So the Spanish not being able to pronounce it, it went from Tlecuatlacupe to Guadalupe. So now the Spanish version, the because of the pronouncing and not being able to pronounce it, it became Guadalupe. And that's the way it's known around the world. That's the way the Catholic Church kind of induced and helped used to make the natives convert and use it and call her Guadalupe now. Yeah. So it's an interesting story. There's different stories. Some people might want to contradict that and say, no, it's different, that the Virgin appeared to him and she was called Guadalupe. But if you follow the languages, what I've noticed, when you stick to the language and you study them, it's all right there contained within the language. And you can kind of figure it out, because not everybody wants to tell the truth. Mm-hmm. Some people use language to kind of trick, for lack of a better word. But I mean, the good part about it is that Native people have never celebrating Mother Earth. And no matter what name we use for her now, whether it's Tlecuatlacupe or Guadalupe, is like the circle is unbroken. It's like when you know. And just to celebrate the earth, whether it's little Mexican kids down in like regional Mexico calling her Guadalupe or calling her Tonantzin. Like I said, she has many names because she incorporates all that, and she's able to transform and become what you need her to become. So that's kind of like a beautiful thing. I like to view it in a more positive note, instead of they did over here what they did over there. Like they just took pagan religions and they named them their own, or they put churches on top of where pyramids or temples used to be, you know. Yeah, that happened too. I mean, there's the cathedral in Mexico City in the Zocalo, the central square, that was built with stones from the temples, you know, the temple of Huitzilopochtli in Tenochtitlan, which is now Mexico City. So they did a lot of crazy stuff. I'm not saying that they didn't. I'm just saying that also it's interesting how our way of life has a way of preserving itself no matter what. And even if the languages change, the essence is still there, still the same. So
We just kind of jump right into it, and that's cool. Talking about the, like ancestral native culture from Mexico, or one of, because there are like many different indigenous groups, but according to like what you've been taught and what's been passed down from your elders, what was Mexico or those areas like Tenochtitlan, what was that like before, like the Europeans or the Spanish came?
I don't know. In a nutshell, I can say it was a near perfect society. From the research that I've done, I've been blessed to be around a lot of elders. And when you put all the information together and you realize how the system worked and how people were working together to create a civilization that kept the waters clean. They built huge monuments together that to this day, people can't figure out how they moved the rocks. They were able to produce some of the best foods ever, which are now considered superfoods, you know? Mm-hmm. They were eating, that. And when you look at the lifestyle and what was accessible to them, even for instance, like the proteins that they ate, there were no pigs, no cows. They ate all the best proteins, like the deer, the buffalo, the turkey, the crickets. Like that's what people try to do now. Like you look at any other podcast about on health and how to take care of your body. Like they knew how to do it collectively as a civilization. The waters were clean. They were eating the best foods. They were in tune with the mother, the earth. They loved her so much. They had so many different names for her. They were in tune with the creator and the essence of creation and how we all are part of it and no one is individual. They didn't really focus on the individuality of the human race. They focused on the collective energy and the beauty of that working together, mm-hmm. that the human race can produce and leave gifts. Like all the foods that they left that are, like I said, are now called superfoods. It came from them. So when you study that, you study the language, and the language that they use, which is Nahuatl, which is a very fluid language used to help you ascend, help you to keep your mind clear and focused, and use the right words to think and not use low grade words to bring your own energy down, depress yourself, things like that. So you study the language, you study the foods that they ate, and then the social settings, the schools, the Calmecas, the Calpulis, the structure of the civilization, and how it was a matrix society also. All that had played into it. And you can see, like, wow, dude, like no monetary system, no land ownership. You start putting a nice picture together of how fluid the society vibed and why there was no wars, no violence, no nothing, because everything was for everybody and everybody was for everything. It was more about we instead of the I.
Where was that like collective we going? Like was there we talk about like today, like progress, like in modern society, was there like a collective direction that society was going?
Yeah, like that's why, like for instance, when you look at the temple and the way it's built, the steps leading up to top part that's pretty much the symbolism. That's why they built them like that, because they said society you could ascend as far as you could take it. And with a few working together, you could get even higher. So there's no cap. There's no, how far can we take this? Like their whole thing was just ascension. Yeah. And then 500 years, there was a little block in the road, and the ascension of the consciousness of the ancestors is still here. It's within us. It's within our children now,
And when we talk about plants, and like medicinal or psychedelic plants, is this culture like fueled by these plants, or was it using these plants for, like I know other parts of the world, where psychedelics have been used for a long time to kind of have advancements in society, and you're seeing that kind of now, this renaissance of psychedelics. Like, what was that like in the
Well,
ancestral,
well, I
Mexica
don't think it
culture?
was just in the ancestral Mexica culture. It
Yeah,
was all over the planet. If you
yeah,
study history, you will see that people have been using plants, quote unquote, quote, power plants, to help them ascend, to help them attain, because we're on a conscious state of movement. Everything, even when you're still, you're moving. So we're in a constant state of movement, and these plants help us move in the proper direction. So all over the planet, they've been using them. And so if you study that, that was just part of our culture too. Plants have always been an important part, not just plants for substance. There's plants for your body. There's plants for your mind, your spirit. So they all play a part. And when you use a little bit of all of them, you just become a more well-rounded human being. Even in the West, for instance, even in the West, people have been using things to help them ascend. Now, because we live in such a plastic world, concrete world, the things that they use, the elements they use have shifted. That's why in the West, you all these young people gravitating to like their chemicals because they live in a chemical society,
right.
whether it's MDMA, acid, or all these other things, because that's what they have available.
Mm-hmm.
But the spirit yearns to ascend, the spirit yearns to climb. So they reach for whatever's in front of them,
Mm.
So now, plastic world, plastic medicines,
Yeah.
natural world, natural medicines.
Mm-hmm.
So we come like human beings all over the planet come from a natural world, and they've been using them since. Now, because things are a little bit upside down, human beings are still trying to ascend, but they're using more like these chemical properties to help them. So it kind of shows you where the state of man is, at least in the West, that it's a little distorted, but the spirit is still yearning to ascend. So humans reach out for what's there. But our people, they were natural people, like like you were saying, the Mexica people, and like we use a lot of plants. Not just there's peyote, there's banana, which are the mushrooms. There's tobacco. There's quite a few other plants, that natives used. And depending on what your studies were and where you were going to head in society, you would gravitate towards different plants. So they were open to the society, and everybody had a chance to like work with them, eat at them, or at their own given time. And another thing, back then they weren't considered medicines; they were just considered teachers, plant teachers, because they had nothing to heal. Human beings were doing so good, eating the best foods. There was no taxes, nothing to worry about. They were just in this beautiful society of like everyone pulling together. So imagine that. Like these plants were doing the real job. The real job of the plants is teachers. It's just that the state of has gotten itself in a bit of a pickle where the plants have turned into medicines, and now they're helping people heal first, and then they become teachers for them.
I like that that teacher aspect of the plants is definitely, even if it's a medicine, it's still being a teacher. It's showing you what not to do and what to do. Yeah, I know, like Rudy, you've traveled the world a lot, offering your culture and ceremony. And what's something that you've seen, you reckon, with people that, like in terms of like taking plants, like are people integrating these plants? Are they becoming more like teachers? Like, have you seen a lot of like beautiful things come out of the use of plants?
Well, I have seen a lot of beautiful things. Like, my motto is everybody should go back to plants instead of like using chemicals and stuff like that. But then it's also on the individual. It depends where you're at, because the plants will meet you at your level. Like, for instance, our word for teacher, and now what, to go back to the language, is demastiani. And that people sometimes associate it, oh, that means teacher. But what it really means is he who learns with you, right? So you have to come with a proper intention. Some people can come and it'll heal them. But if you go right back out there and do the same thing that got you in the mess to begin with, you're just going to get stuck like that in a cycle. So you have to actually put in the work. Once you get healed, you need to make sure you don't go back to living the same lifestyle you were living. And you need to use that clean slate that you created for yourself to tap into your creative flow so they can start using the medicine as a teacher, which is what I think everybody needs to be. Yeah, we all need healing because we all come from trauma, especially this day and age. I don't know anybody who hasn't hurt or suffered or tried to heal a point in their life. But I think these medicines can heal it quick, and then you can tap into your creative flow, which is, I think, what the human race is here to do, is to create and leave something beautiful for generations to come.
Yeah, nice. What do you think people like out there, maybe listening to this podcast, who have had a ceremony or an experience with plant medicine, and maybe they're in areas where that's not readily available? What are ways that they can potentially integrate that, or, we talk about getting into their collective flow. How can they use like the elements around them or anything like that?
Well, that's the thing. Like, it's like to peel the layers to get to the essence of, to have an understanding of how these plants work. Like this 2-part plant, they heal and then they teach. And then also to know that you're supposed to show up and meet the medicine halfway and do your part to bring that responsibility into yourself, and also like take a little bit more of your power back, more of your control, and say, oh yeah, I'm in charge. It's like, I have to open myself up to be more creative and stop using, for instance, like people that need to heal a lot. A lot of times these medicines heal people with depression. Well, like depression is that's just a word, I don't really think it's depression that people are going through. What I think is that they're just distracted. And that distractedness brings your energy low. And then they create all these words for it. But like to recenter yourself, these plants help you rethink how you use language, first of all, rethink how you look at time, rethink how your relationship with the water, rethink your relationship with the fire. Have you ever tried to communicate with them? Have you ever tried to sing to them? Have you ever tried to use language to your advantage to help you bring your energy up? If you're constantly thinking of what you don't like, you're going to bring your energy down. So if you start thinking about the things that you like and things you want to accomplish, that's going to bring your energy up.
Yeah.
And that's free. That's on you. Nobody tells you to sit there and mope around all day thinking about sad stuff. So therein lies the responsibility of the human being. The medicine will heal you. It'll get it out of you.
Yeah.
And then, but the real ceremony starts after the plant ceremony, which is when you live your day-to-day life and what you do with it. Like, how do you use your mind? How do you use your energy? Are you moving your body? Like, we live in a sedentary world, dude. It's like nobody moves around anymore. Like, I was reading this article that said sometimes people after 30 will never sprint or run again. Like, that's on us. Like, in this world, you can pay somebody to do anything you want. Cut my yard, cut my hair, make my food, but you can't make nobody work out for you. You got your own body, dude. Like, that's on you. That's your responsibility. Same thing with the plants. That's your responsibility, how you use these medicines, these plants. You're going to use it for the rest of your life as a medicine, or you're going to hurry up and heal it and then utilize it the rest of your life as a teacher, which is where you want to be with this, to really take it to the next level.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like, I think like we've known each other for a long time, and we've sat in connected circles, and all the teachings are based in that around plant medicine is like this responsibility to the self, that the medicine ain't going to change anything for you. It's going to help you. It's going to show you the way, but it's down to you. Maybe you could talk a bit about language, like Nahuatl is for me, it's like a fascinating language, and how on a daily level, and I've heard you, mention this before, in and around, like the fireplace, but how on an individual level, like how language is affecting your reality, like every moment, like what you're able to manifest. You talk about what you're thinking, but what about what you're actually saying?
Yeah, like I think about that a lot because like I heard this elder years ago one time saying that, our people were so advanced back then because everybody was working together that language was only one form of communication. Like he ventured to say that like there was actually some telekinesis happening. Yeah. And when you see the advancements and how they move stones, and there was sound frequency happening to move the stones, heavy stones, like your mind just starts going wild with wonder. And you're like, wow. And then I was thinking, I was like, wow. So that means if that was possible, we've actually devolved into using language as the main form of communication. And yet now out there in the world, nobody knows how to use language. Nobody studies the language that they use. Nobody questions the language they use. People just use the same language that their parents used on them, that their teachers used on them, and when you start studying the language to become the observer of the language, you're like, oh man, no wonder everybody's down and depressed because everybody's using this low grade energy and they're talking, they even cuss at their children.
Yeah.
Like now what? They yell at and now what? Like there was no curse words. There was no curse words, and there was a very fluid language that was put in place by the grandmas and the grandpas to help you activate your internal waters. Like the language is actually called Four Waters. And then they also call it clear sound.
Wow.
So Niawi, At, Nawat, compound word. Nawat is composed of tons of compound words. So it keeps getting bigger and bigger. But it literally means four waters. And the way you could use it, and it advises you and it lets you know that everything you speak is going to flow out to the four directions. So it to me, it also means prayer. It means everything I say is like a prayer. So I put it out there and then it comes back. Cylindrical thinking, like the cycles of life. What you put out comes back. So if you're putting out their cuss words, if you're putting low words like depression and boredom and tiredness out to the world, well, that's your prayer.
Yeah.
And then some people will defend these words. They're like, no, but it's real. I was like, the pain is real, but that's not real. What's real is the distraction that you're living in because you're using these words to distract you and take your power away. It's on you what you think. Just because it exists in the English language, all these cuss words doesn't mean that you have to use them. The English language has a lot of awesome words too: compassion and love and integrity and honesty and focus and clarity. Use those words instead and see where your energy goes and see what happens inside of you. You'll probably be healthier. You'll definitely be healthier and your mind will be a little more clearer because just like working out, it's on you. The words you use are on you. It all goes back to responsibility. You bring it back to you. How am I using this language? Yes, I was born into this world. This language was assigned to me. Everybody's been using it since day one. But have I really stopped to study this language? And how am I going to use it from here forth? Am I going to use this language to help me rise? Or am I going to keep getting in the mud with this stuff? Yeah. It was a lot easier for us in Nahuatl because the language was instilled to help you rise. Hence, no curse words. So you weren't sitting around there cussing at each other and arguing with each other all day long.
You mentioned the word prayer. For people out there, maybe that's a strong word to use. Yeah. I know it's a very powerful word and something that, I practice every day, but maybe you can talk a bit on how, like, using language in prayerful ways, like how from an indigenous perspective, like how is that used to maybe commune with the natural world to manifest things for you and for your family and for your community.
Right. No, it's been said like in traditional Nahuatl, there wasn't even a word for prayer. It was more connection, because prayer, that comes with a lot of baggage. When you think of prayer, you think of religions and you think of reciting a prayer over and over again and hoping for something to happen. Where that's not the native way. So what we're doing, we're just connecting, we're communicating, we're having a conversation with the creator, with the universe, with the elements, with the mother. And you're just throwing out how you're feeling. You're like, this is what's going on in my life. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to accomplish this. I'm looking to manifest this. But when you initiate dialogue with the universe, with the creator, the first conversation you should be is gratitude. It's first you need to initiate with the thank you of everything that got you to this point, to this conversation right here, and acknowledge how all those beautiful things have manifested in your life, how in spite of everything that's happened, your life is pretty good. It's the children are well, the family, and then, of course, the elders grow and things happen in life and we move on. But everything's kinetic energy. And I think in order to start a solid communication on a daily basis with the creator, with the universe, which we're all part of, is to remember what you're grateful for. That to me is quote unquote prayer. To me is to remember what you're grateful for. And the more you remember what you're grateful for, that's going to make you feel a lot better. That to me is prayer more than anything. In the West, prayers, or not in the West, I don't want to get into this like East, Native West thing.
Yeah.
What I want to say is, like, in today's world, a lot of people are constantly praying for just what they want, like, and then they try to blame like an external energy if nothing happens for them. But have they really been grateful, first of all? And what is it that they're grateful for? The universe needs to know what you're grateful for. Be more of that. And have you like left your blessings? Have you actually gone and left offerings here and there to literally specifically say thank you to the water of life, for instance, right? We need water to survive. Like, how could we not be grateful to the water? Like, how could we not wake up and say thank you to her in the morning for another day of life? And then you put an intention for the day. And then you say, oh, then today we got this going on. Let it flow smooth. For instance, you wake up, you got to travel like 30 hours like we did to come here. Like, you want everything to flow. So I wake up and it's simple. Thank you, Mamita. And I'm flying today. Let's flow there. Let's get there quick and safe and sound and have a beautiful meeting with our relatives there and let it go. Let it be an adventure. Let it be something beautiful, like a great connection with people from other part of the world where we can share ideas and thoughts that are going to make our life better. Boom, done. Like that to me is like what, quote, like I said, quote unquote, prayer is about.
Beautiful. Do you feel that prayer is not just in words, but it's also, you talk about connection, but it's also a feeling, a visualization through sound, through song, through movement, through dance. Like, it's not just actual words.
It's all that. It encompasses all that. How you move, how you dance. Like all our songs that we use in ceremony, they're beautiful songs, but they're also prayers, because like you're acknowledging the elements, you're acknowledging the frequency of the fire. Like that's why, like most of the Native Americans, like the peyote songs, don't have a lot of language. They're just, we call them straight songs, just tones. Hey, ya na, hey, nay, yo, way. Well, that's the tone, that's the frequency of the fire. So we're actually like not even using a human language. We're using the language of the fire with our voice in a sound frequency that is connecting you directly to the fire. So that goes way beyond language. Now we're speaking the language of the fire. We're using, it's more like sound frequency. And then we have Mexika dance, which some people call Aztec dancing. They put all their feathers and they dance all day long and they're stomping on the earth. And every movement is a direct like communication to the earth. Every time they stomp a certain way and it's a certain frequency, and the earth is understanding. It's a direct communication that you're having with the earth with the drum, with the heartbeat. And so there's many ways to connect. Yeah. And just the way, even breath work, when you bring in the breath of life and you hold it there and you do the breath work and you can feel it like moving things, blockages from your body to release. And so the breath itself is medicine, which is the prayer that you want to put out there, right? Like the number one thing you want above all is health, right? Without everything else pretty much the healthier you are, the more you love, the healthier you are, the more you move, the healthier you are, the more creative you get. So healthy mind, which is a lot of what people are really striving for these days, to have a clear, focused mind.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of like, over the other day you were up here on the Sunshine Coast in Australia and we had an ice bath going and we were just talking about different ways of connecting, or, like Indigenous people of Australia talk about like kick your shoes off and go country, like get barefoot, feel the earth, breath work, heat therapy, sweat lodges. And I feel that there's all these ways of connection, but people want complicated ways of connecting, when, you know, indigenous ways is just, it really is using the elements. You know, it's using the elements to connect back to the earth and to build that like higher level of connection. But, you know, it takes time, right? Like relationships with the fire doesn't happen overnight. You know, that's something that you build right from a young age. Would you say that?
Yeah, I think, children get it a lot quicker than adults, because adults, we show up with our baggage, and you can sit an adult in front of the fire. It's going to take them a minute sometimes because they're just locked up in their own, like, there's like a blockage there, if you will. But like those are easy to remove once people start understanding this. Like I've been in a ceremony where a guy brought his mom, and after the ceremony, she was 70 years old. After the ceremony, she was crying. She came up to me, and I was like, at first I didn't know what the tears were about, but then she came up to me and she was like, I never knew. I was like, what? She's like, I never knew, Rudy. Like, I just never, nobody taught it to us. I never knew there was a spirit in the fire. She was 70 years old, but then I realized she was crying. She was happy. She was like, but look at me. It's like, it's never too late. Like, things have changed for me. And that happens a lot, in ceremony with the water. People come up to me and they're like, I can't believe this. They're like, something so simple can change so life. Like, these teachings the reason they're so simple is because they've been fine-tuned for generations upon generations, thousands of years to reach the human being. Doesn't matter how disconnected you've been. Once you hear it, the simplicity and the beauty of it, of course, I guarantee you, anybody that goes to a peyote ceremony is going to walk away waking up every day for the rest of their lives with the water. And that's going to change everything for them. And then they're going to teach their children and so forth and so forth. And that's the way things change, not through confrontation, just through realization, just through like remembering who we really are. We come from nature. And so now it's just time to like walk out the door again and go back into nature. You go back out there like 30 minutes the first day, and then an hour, and then pretty soon it's going to be your natural environment, and then you start getting rid of the baggages that you have without even confronting all that stuff. You just start releasing.
Yeah, that's very true. And there is a powerful movement that's heading that way. I guess using technology as well, like understanding that we have the ability to use technology, but we need to stay connected to our natural world, and also understand that, we're all, I like to move away from this indigenous and non-indigenous kind of mindset, and more of a native, that we're all native to the earth from somewhere. Yep. We all have ancestors that are native, that had ceremonies, that did some form of prayer or dance or, psychedelic medicine, and kind of re-educating or remembering for people.
Yep. Yeah, I think so too. That's why I always say, like, the fire is not like a native thing. It's a human thing, It's like we all need the fire to survive. It's just that the reason, that's why I'm careful not to say, like between the West and native culture, because they say like modern day culture, it's more modern day culture. It's not like a race thing. So yeah, like I've always tried to show that like all over the planet, if you do any little bit of traveling, you see that the indigenous people from those parts of the planet had a connection with nature. Like the indigenous people of Australia, they still have a connection with nature. Like, they're the natural people, It's like they're actually kind of holding it down for this planet until the rest of the other ones kind of, arrive. But I think that's where we're all going. And even in the modern times, like I said, like English has beautiful words in it, and even like social, everything with the internet, and you can do a lot of incredible things with the tools that are available to us now. Like us having this little conversation here, you're in a different city. It's just, you got to learn how to utilize the tools that that you have, and take the responsibility and use them with the love and respect to create the beauty that you want,
Well, talking about creating and beauty and using technology, I wanted to talk about some plants that serious allies to my life, at least, and I know to a lot of people, and where we have an alliance. We have, some brands here in Australia, which is Flowers of the Fire, and your brand in the States, which is Flor and Canto, which is flower and song for people who don't know that in Spanish. And that's pine pollen. And maybe, if you want to talk a bit about like this powerful plant, this spagyric adaptogen plant that we have access to.
Yeah. Like my native name is Xochipilli, and that just means the essence of the flower, that the flower represents the plants. That's why I work with peyote, and I work with a lot of other plants. And also this one plant, the pine pollen that came to us, because that's women too. Like there's different varieties, you can get the male tonics, you can get the pine pollen. I've noticed like meeting people in ceremony, like you always meet the most incredible people. And one of the things, the plants always I gravitate towards the plants. So with the pine pollen and the research that we've done, we realized that men in today's world, after their 30s, they start dropping their testosterone levels. So we started doing the research. The research is out. Anybody can look this up. It's true, that because the two main reasons are the sedentary lifestyle and the packaged foods that humans eat nowadays. Those two, before men were moving and more in nature, and you build your testosterone up, when you use your legs and you're in this kinetic energy flow. But overall, because of like the workflow and how people work indoors now, which is cool, like I'm not saying we shouldn't work indoors, but what I'm saying, you need to balance that out and then realize that it's also, if you don't balance it, things will start happening to your body. And one of the biggest things that men have as men that we should be producing regularly is testosterone, because that's what helps us for to procreate, to our lifestyles, vitality, in romance, in exercise, in clear flow, clear mind. So we started producing these pine pollens, these tonics, spagyric tonics specifically, to help with that. And men have I took them because it's all small batch. I used to take them to the ceremonies, and after ceremonies, I give them to my friends. And sure enough, within a couple of weeks, they call back and they're like, "Oh no, we want more. We want more." So, and then we kept doing the research, and we realized how good this is for you, and the fact that it's a plant and it's natural. It's in tune with going back to the plants, staying in the nature cycle. But not only that, it's like it benefits because we work with small communities. We with direct providers and producers of all these plants, that we're all thinking, how are we going to create a beautiful environment for ourselves, creating the best products available. And it all started within the ceremony community. All the young men and all the men started taking it. So it's going to go from there. It's like, and it just helps, like I said, you stay in tune with the plants. And I'll tell you what this is about. Plants are about preventative medicine, you see? And like in the modern day world, the medicines they use are curative. So people get sick and then they use different things to try to cure you. When you use these tonics, they build you up and like they prevent you from losing your testosterone. They actually teach the body how to make more testosterone. Eventually, you take less and less. That's how you know how powerful this plant is. Like, you start a cycle, and that's an adaptogen, and you cycle it. So you take it for like 2 months every day, and then after that, you start taking it 5 on, 2 off, and then after another 2 months, it's 4 on, 3 off, and so forth. And eventually, you take it when you need it, and you'll know, because this is the thing. Like I said, like in today's world, the testosterone drops so much that you notice the difference. And then you know where you need to be, because now you remember, oh yeah, this is where I need to be. This is where my vitality, my energy flow needs to be. And you stay in tune, no side effects, no nothing.
Yeah. I personally, I jumped on the pine pollen train about 7 months ago when you were out here last, and you gave me a bottle, and that just the feeling, the levels of energy, vitality, just clear thoughts, you can feel your hormones, regulating, just everything kind of gets back to how it should be, back into order, and that stress level drops, and you just feel more in that male essence, and I know it's really good for women as well, women with menopause as well. And
Hormone.
Hormone balance. We've had a lot of women here that have had it and have done some really good work on themselves. So
more focus for men and women. I remember you're on it, and now you even have a new baby on the way because of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So anyone out there that's, and that's another powerful thing about, people that want to potentially have children, it's going to increase your sperm count and all these, like vitality or like life creation things. So we'll put in the notes, we'll put the links to the Australian brand, which is our brand, which is Flowers of the Fire, and we'll put in the US one, which is your one, which is Flora Encanto, and both have representations of the flowers, and we didn't even know when we created them, which is crazy. But I highly recommend it for people out there to try and have this pine pollen and see where it gets you, and get back to using the plants. I mean, there's mushrooms, medicinal mushrooms are out there, and different mushroom blends, and people using tonics and lion's mane. That's the beauty, and that's where why one of the reasons I wanted to do this business was because it helps people, and you can see the results, and you know that you're offering someone that's like a service to people. Yeah,
and like the male tonics, they actually have ashwagandha too, and that one's for vitality too. So that's why it's a blend. It's a tonic. It's got the ashwagandha, it's got the black pepper to make it activate more, and the cinnamon. It also helps it's all based, it's all researched, and it's all put together to help you like get to that optimal level like as quickly as possible. Some men might take a little longer because it depends where your testosterone level is, but it'll get it there. And then it's going to want to make you move your body more, which is what we all need. There's no way around that. Like human beings, you need to move your body, or otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah, definitely. And what about the other product that is online? It's going to be online very soon here in Australia, but the Chihuahua. If you could talk a bit about that.
Chihuahua, like in English, because I know Chihuahua is a little bit hard to pronounce. Chihuahua, which is another Nahuatl word, which means chili, and Coat, serpent. So chili serpent is the actual like a compound word that they use. The ancestors were very interesting the way they put the words together, and very visual, because the root actually looks like a serpent. It's S-shaped, and then it's got this flavor that's very intense. When you use it, it activates right away in your tongue, and it's like Pop Rocks. You remember those candies when you were kids?
Yeah.
Go off, and there's like an explosion going on in your mouth. But this plant, this spray, this mouth spray is the one, like it's all in one. It's like Native people in Mexico, we used as a mouthwash, as a toothpaste, as a gum cleaner, you name it. It's for cleans the mouth completely. And what it does, you spray it, and it starts activating in your tongue, and your body starts producing saliva in there. So the saliva and the Chihuahua mix, and it kills all the bad bacteria in your mouth. It could even like the onset of a cavity, at the very beginning of the cavity, you could spray it and it'll reverse that effect. Now you can't come to it with a full-blown hole in your mouth and expect it, that's like that to take care of your teeth too. But this takes care of it. Like you spray it, it cleans your mouth fully, kills all the bad bacteria in your mouth, and then you don't spit it out like regular mouthwash. You actually swallow it, and it goes down into your gut, and it produces good gut bacteria. So it's a double whammy. That's why it's called. That's why it's the root of gold, from the mouth all the way down into your gut. Produced so it's a compound medicine. Not only that, not only does it work internally, like I carry it everywhere I go. Everywhere I go, I carry it, and I just put it in my backpack and in my bag, and just spray throughout the day. And but it's also good for like out in nature, like when you get bit by mosquitoes and stuff. It's a topical medicine as well. You can just spray it on the bites, and it'll help you out like that. It also works for yeast infections and things like that. So it's got a lot of uses. The primary one is to overall mouth health. And then, but it's such a perfect tonic to have with you, like in your little medicine bag at home or when you travel in the bathroom. And like I said, I just like it because you can right away feel what it's doing, like the work that it's doing. It activates right away. And and it goes right back again. It goes right back. It's just it's just a plant. And all it is in this one, all it is just cane alcohol and the chihuahua, mainly chihuahua. But
beautiful. No, I love it too. It's
promoting.
Yeah, it's a good medicine. Well, thanks, Rudy, for coming on podcast and like giving your time here and sharing your knowledge in medicine and being out here in Australia. And maybe if there's a final word that you want to share with people, maybe around like integration, after ceremony experiences, how people can continue to be responsible for their mind, for their thoughts and their experiences in and out of ceremony.
One thing that I've noticed with the ceremonies, they bring people together and you create new alliances, new communities, new network systems. But also, so it's important to hold on to that and to build a tribe and to make it more about we. Eventually, when your mind starts thinking about we and less about me, that helps. And that part comes into play when it's just you, in the world. How are you looking at the world? Are you looking at the world as you and them or we? And that's a constant practice. And the practices, like I said, your whole life is one big ceremony. So you learn what you learn in the ceremonies and you take that out there to the world and you teach it to your kids, you teach it to your tribe. And that's where the oral tradition comes into play. All these teachings, you don't find them in books. There's no movie about this stuff. There's no books about this stuff. But how did it survive so long? Well, it survived because people just the oral tradition passed it on, and we didn't change the ceremonies. You go and sit in front of the ceremony all night, you learn something beautiful, and then you share it with your community. And people will take it because the truth rings a little different than anything else. When you hear the truth, you're like, that's so right. And that's the thing, to carry that truth with you and share it. Share it with the universe, share it with the world. Like sharing, that's what it's about, right? Isn't it? What's that saying? Sharing is caring.
Yeah.
So that's what I can leave you with, bro.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, thanks very much, Rudy. Yeah, I really appreciate your words here and sharing your knowledge and wisdom. And we'll put the links down to the Flowers of the Fire and Flor y Canto, in the notes for this podcast. And
ours is just in the US, so that way
sweet.
Flow like that.
Yeah.
But all right, brother. Thank you for having me on. Thanks for spending time with me and hanging out. Congratulations again on the new baby. Man.
Thank you.
I'm excited. You finally got your girl.
Yeah.
It only took 3 boys to get a girl, so you did it in quicker time.
Yeah. Thank you, bro.
Congratulations to your lady and the whole crew in Sunshine Coast.
Oh.
All right. Peace. Later.
Somos la tierra, somos la vida, somos la luna, la estrella y el mar.